I think $5 to $7 trillion by 2029 market cap. So more than 10 times what things are today in 5 years. I think that is accurate.
Okay, so like imagine this. It's 2025, right? You're running super late, but instead of trying to flag down a cab or, I don't know, ordering an Uber or whatever, you just like summon a driverless Tesla. Just a tap on your phone and boom, you're on your way.
It's wild.
That's the future Tesla's shooting for with these robotaxi ambitions of theirs. And today, we are diving deep, my friends. We're going to figure out if they can actually pull this off. We've got a whole stack of analyst reports here. Deutsche Bank, Bloomberg Intelligence, UBS, Goldman Sachs, even some Tesla AI posts, I guess, to help us unpack all of this.
The really fascinating thing to me is the sheer scale of what Tesla's going for. This isn't just about like building another self-driving car. They want to create a whole new transportation network from the ground up.
Right. And Bloomberg Intelligence, they're estimating this could be a $1 trillion market. I mean, huge if it works. But where does Tesla actually stand, compared to their competitors? Like Waymo, for example, they've already got those driverless cars out there on the roads.
That's true. But one thing Bloomberg's report really highlighted was this key advantage that Tesla has: data. They're training their AI on a data set that's literally 70 times larger than their competitors.
Wow. 70?
70.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. Trying to learn a new language with like a tiny handful of flashcards versus having access to this massive library, that's the kind of edge Tesla has.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So more data equals a smarter AI, which I guess for Tesla means a more capable full self-driving system.
Exactly. Tesla's FSD V12, their latest, it relies on a neural network that learns straight from video data. And not just any video data, this stuff is collected from Tesla vehicles all over the world.
So every Tesla owner is like an accidental AI trainer.
In a way, yeah. Every mile driven is another data point for their system to learn from. Pretty clever when you think about it.
Yeah, that is actually really clever. Okay, but hold on. How far along is Tesla's FSD tech really? I mean, I'm on social media. I see all the, the posts, Tesla owners talking about phantom braking, near misses, all that. Are we really about to have robotaxis everywhere?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? UBS actually did this really interesting analysis. They compared Tesla's FSD progress with, remember we were talking about Waymo?
Yeah.
So they compared it with Waymo's data from the California DMV, where Waymo's been doing those fully driverless tests.
And they find, spill the tea.
Big gap, like a significant gap in performance. Waymo's robotaxis, they had one disengagement, meaning the safety driver had to, jump in and take over for every 85,000 miles driven.
Wow. 85,000 miles.
Right. Now, UBS, using the publicly available data on Tesla, they estimated that Tesla would need something like, get this, a 770x improvement in their FSD system.
770 times.
To match Waymo's current performance level.
Okay, so maybe hold off on the Robotaxi Victory Lap for now.
Yeah, it definitely highlights the scale of the challenge ahead. But, and this is important, Tesla's known for blazing through development cycles, like incredibly fast. They're constantly pumping their AI full of more data. And their whole approach, that neural network thing we talked about, it has the potential to like suddenly unlock huge performance jumps.
Okay, so maybe not hailing robotaxis tomorrow, but potential is definitely there. Speaking of tomorrow, though, Tesla's got that like super hyped 10/10 event coming up. What are the analysts thinking? Is this going to be the big Robotaxi reveal?
Well, Goldman Sachs seems to think Tesla's going to use the event to really show off how far they've come on the tech side. Lay out their plans for how this robotaxi network is actually going to work in practice, and crucially, how they're going to make money doing this. Because that's a whole other beast.
Right. Because building a cool car that drives itself, that's one thing. But making it a real sustainable business, that's a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. Goldman Sachs actually went really in-depth on this. They dove into the nitty-gritty costs of running an autonomous vehicle network. Think about it. Vehicle depreciation, maintenance, salaries for those remote operators who are going to have to be standing by, the whole 9 yards. And even with the cost advantages Tesla's supposed to have, it's still like a seriously complex equation.
So how are they planning to actually make money with these robotaxis?
Remember a while back, Elon Musk was talking about Tesla being like the Airbnb on wheels?
Oh, yeah. Where Tesla owners could rent out their cars as robotaxis,
Yeah.
right? Whenever they're not personally using them.
Exactly. That's a key part of their game plan, at least as far as we know. It lets them build up this massive robotaxi fleet without having to shell out all the cash up front to actually buy all the vehicles themselves.
Okay, that's smart, but I can already see some potential issues, like who's cleaning these cars after every ride? What happens if there's like an accident or damage? And are people really going to be cool with strangers cruising around in their personal vehicles?
Those are all really valid concerns, honestly. And right now, it's kind of unclear how Tesla plans to address them.
Sounds like there's still a lot more questions than answers. But one thing's for sure. This 10/10th event is shaping up to be a make-or-break moment for Tesla and their robotaxi ambitions.
It's their big chance to lay out their vision for everyone, address all the skepticism that's out there, and really convince the world that this robotaxi dream is more than just a pipe dream.
It'll be fascinating to see what they've got up their sleeves. Okay, we spent a lot of time talking about, the tech stuff, the business side, but what about the human element? At the end of the day, this is about how we get around in the future.
You're absolutely right. As much as Tesla is pushing the envelope with their tech for their robotaxi vision to actually work, it hinges on a lot more than just engineering. It's about understanding how this technology will impact people's lives, how it'll fit into our cities, and how it lines up with our expectations, and then addressing those points.
And how it might change them. Speaking of change, I want to switch gears for a sec. There's this fascinating anecdote in a recent Bloomberg article about a San Francisco resident who's been live streaming. So this resident's been live streaming Waymo's robotaxis, right?
Yeah.
But they're not like driving around the city or anything. They're just navigating a depot parking lot.
Yeah, it sounds kind of weird, but apparently it's become this whole thing. People are really into it.
Right. The article was saying that people are actually naming the Waymo cars.
Yeah.
Like based on their little driving quirks and personalities,
It's funny, right? But I think it speaks to something deeper. We can't help but be fascinated by these vehicles, even when they're just puttering around a parking lot.
Totally. Like we have this like instinct to project personalities onto these driverless cars.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're so new and like kind of mysterious still.
Maybe. Remember when the iPhone first came out? Everyone was glued to those things, totally mesmerized by this sleek little device.
Oh, totally. And now it's just like a phone, part of everyday life.
Exactly. And I think robotaxis could be headed down a similar path. What seems totally extraordinary today might be, utterly mundane in a few years.
Wild, huh? Okay, let's loop back to Tesla for a bit. You mentioned earlier that Goldman Sachs sees them having a cost advantage when it comes to actually building and running these robotaxis. Can you unpack that a bit more?
Sure. So Tesla's vertically integrated, right, in a way that most other car companies aren't. They make a lot of their own stuff, batteries, chips, and obviously all the self-driving software.
They're cutting out the middleman, basically.
Yep. Exactly. Plus, they've gone all in on using cameras and AI for their self-driving system. They're not relying on LiDAR, which is those spinning laser sensors, that some of their competitors are using.
Which are crazy expensive, right?
Exactly. That could mean big cost savings per vehicle for Tesla.
Interesting. So while others are adding more hardware, more sensors, Tesla's just like, nah, we're good. Our AI's got this.
Pretty much. They're aiming for a robotaxi that's significantly cheaper to both produce and operate. They've even thrown out a number under $30,000 per robotaxi.
Whoa, okay, that's ambitious, and if they can actually hit that price point...
It would be a game changer, for sure. But remember, UBS isn't convinced this is all going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, their report basically said that widespread robotaxis from anyone, not just Tesla, are probably still a few years off.
At least. They cited all the regulatory hurdles, which, makes sense. Governments are still trying to wrap their heads around how to handle self-driving cars, let alone whole fleets of them.
It's a lot. And then even if you get the regulations sorted, there's the massive logistical challenge of like actually running this incredibly complex network, making sure it's safe, dealing with all the weird edge cases that pop up. It's a lot.
It's a monumental task. So, this whole 10/10 event, it's probably more about managing expectations than unveiling a finished product.
Right. So less robotaxis are here and more, here's how we're going to get there eventually.
Exactly. They might give us a peek at their progress, maybe a cool demo of the latest FSD capabilities. But I wouldn't hold your breath for like a firm launch date or anything. This is about selling their long-term vision.
And that vision, according to some, goes way beyond just cars, right?
Right. Remember that Optimus project, their humanoid robot?
Oh, yeah. The one that looks like straight out of a sci-fi movie.
That's the one. Well, UBS brought up a really interesting point. They suggested that Tesla's AI and data expertise, it could have implications for, like, way more than just transportation.
You mean like creating a whole ecosystem of autonomous machines, not just robotaxis, but delivery robots, factory workers, like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're getting into pure speculation territory at this point, but it's still exciting to think about, right?
It's mind-blowing. But also, I don't know, maybe a little tiny bit terrifying. We're talking about potentially changing how our whole society functions. But I guess that's a conversation for another deep dive.
Definitely. For now, I think the biggest question is whether Tesla can actually pull off even a fraction of what they're promising with these robotaxis.
Right. That's the billion-dollar question. And we get to wait and see how it all plays out. But no matter what happens, you got to admit, Tesla's doing something really interesting here.
For sure. They're pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible and making us think differently about the future.
Absolutely. Now, before we get too carried away with Tesla, we should probably mention that they're not the only ones doing cool stuff in the self-driving world. You mentioned Waymo earlier, and the Bloomberg report actually had this really interesting anecdote about how they're tackling those, those really tricky situations. Like when you got to make an unprotected left turn, it's like, even for human drivers, those are the worst. Yeah. So how are they training their AI to handle that?
Well, get this. They're teaching the system to basically micro-nudge through those turns. So instead of just like one smooth turn, the robotaxi actually makes these little super precise movements, and it pauses after each one like to reassess the situation.
So it's like being extra cautious, like Waymo's robotaxis are all, hold on, got to make sure it's safe, got to inch forward a bit more.
Exactly. Bloomberg called it comically slow. But hey, it works. And I think it makes sense, especially in those crazy urban environments. Better to be safe than sorry, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to be in the robotaxi that's like recklessly darting through traffic. So I wonder, do you think other companies will adopt this whole micro-nudging approach?
Maybe. It could become like the industry standard. Or who knows, maybe as AI gets even more advanced, it'll seem like ridiculously overcautious. Either way, I think it shows you just how much this technology is still evolving.
It's true. We really are just at the beginning of this whole robotaxi thing. There's so much we still don't know, and there are bound to be like a million unexpected bumps in the road.
Absolutely. And the solutions to those problems, they're not going to come from just one company or one single technological breakthrough, right? It's going to take collaboration, tons of innovation, and honestly, a willingness to just adapt as we go. We're going to learn a lot about how to fit autonomous vehicles into our world along the way.
For sure. This is definitely a super exciting space to be watching, full of potential, but also, a healthy dose of we have no idea what's going to happen.
That pretty much sums it up. The road to this robotaxi future, it's paved with, well, a whole lot of unknowns, but also a ton of promise.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, that's going to do it for this deep dive into the wild world of Tesla's robotaxi ambitions. For everyone listening, hopefully we answered some of your burning questions, but if not, you know the drill. Hit us up on social, send us an email, whatever you got to do. This story is far from over, and we'll be here breaking it all down for you every step of the way.
Absolutely. Stay curious, my friends. And who knows, maybe one of these days we'll be hailing robotaxis together for real.
That'll be a day. Until next time, everybody.